And I imagine it's going to be quite a gathering of not only family, but of his friends. Very popular guy, and he was a poet. And of all the things that he accomplished in his life, he built several sailboats, and one of them quite large. I would call it a ship, almost a 50-foot trimaran. He built that right in the Santa Cruz Hills in Felton. And if anybody knows a trimaran, they're quite wide and spacious. It had 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a very nice teak wheelhouse, and shower facility. It had everything. It was a very, very nice boat. And I got to sail on that boat down as far as Costa Rica. But he liked to be thought of as a poet above all else, and he was a very good poet. He wrote his own poetry, and I think that he never thought it was that great, but he did put out a book several years ago and entitled Sailing to Nirvana on Dreams. It's a very thin book, and I read it, and it was my dad. You know, he's a character, and it was unique, very, very individual and unique writing, and it is in the poetry classification. But it's offbeat, I would say, which poets can get away with. When it comes to poetry, if anybody's read any kind of collection of various authors, you can see that it varies widely, and there's no right and wrong way to do your poetry. Another thing I always remember my dad saying was that a man is free in proportion to the number of things he can afford to leave alone. And I really like that, because there's always been times in my life when I wish every possession I had would fit into a knapsack I could throw on my back and just not have a care in the world, and just live like that, you know? And you could get away with it. People do get away with it. And, you know, I can really understand what he was saying there, because possessions do tend to possess us. I mean, anybody in America that owns a house knows that you never really own it. You're going to be paying property taxes in perpetuity. You know that if you own a car, it requires expenditures. It's a burden. It's a money pit. You've got to keep it in maintenance and repairs. And on and on. Our possessions take up room, and they clutter, and they require dusting. And if they're valuable possessions, we've got to worry about them getting stolen. Like Jesus said, he said, store your treasures in heaven, where neither rust nor moth destroy, and thieves don't break in and steal. And I think that's a really important lesson for all of us, is to understand that, you know, not only is there so much more to our existence than meets the eye. It's like the Bible says, eye hath not seen nor ear heard what the Lord has in store for those who love him. It's that simple. We can be promised and assured good things. We can expect good things. We're entitled to them by right, if we are good kids, you know. And it's not hard to be a good kid. God doesn't put a lot of burden on us. It's not a religious thing. It's a very pure, natural thing. It's instinctive. It's irresistible, like the way we populated the earth. And to not do God's will, to not follow his commandments, is going against the grain, because you're going against your very conscience. And nobody can ever find happiness when you go against your conscience. If you took all the possessions that exist on this planet today, all the spare houses all over the planet, all the spare automobiles, brand new, you know, they shut down, the workers don't get to go to work, even though they love going to work and build cars, because they're not selling their product. So there could be such great superfluity, and I try to get this across to people, and I see that I'm striking a chord, because we've been so trained to believe otherwise, to believe that no, somehow we've always got to have poverty, we've always got to have austerity. There's a logical reason for this. But when you discover that it's all just made up, it's just all BS, it's all just a big charade, you know, what's the word? It's more than annoying. It's aggravating, but it's insufferable. For me, I'm incensed that I feel like my whole life until I got a little smidgen of wisdom, they have been mind effing me with the educational system, with the mainstream media, with the political, believe in the political system, these politicians in the government, that you could change it with voting. Believe in at least the money-based system, because at least, have common sense and learn to gain financial security. Be successful at least. You can go for the money, and be free in that sense. That you're successful if you make a lot of money in this society, and that means it indicates and infers that you're unsuccessful. And in other words, unsuccessful is a euphemism for a failure. So in other words, if you're poor in this society, we're trained that you're a failure. So you understand what a driving force that is for a normal person that strikes a chord, and they say, well, I don't want to be a failure, so I've got to go out and whatever it takes, make a career and make a gob of money so that I can be not a failure. I can succeed. I can be one of those successful persons that's made it. But Jesus would beg to differ about all that, and I would as well, because this is all temporary. This is actually no more real than a dream when you go to sleep at night. Because like a dream that you have when you sleep at night, it ends. It has a beginning, and it has a middle, and it has an ending, and you wake up. And the same is going to happen here. We know that we had a beginning at birth. We've had a middle in between birth and death. Then we've got to face death, the end of the dream. But does it all end there? What does the Bible say? The Bible says that to God all are alive. That the idea that we can die is a lie from the pit of hell. That even the wicked live forever, but they just have to go to a different place. Periodically, you need that separation from the wicked and the righteous. Just to show that you really love the righteous children, you need to give them some relief from the wicked ones. And these things can take long periods of time in history, but we're due for a big one coming up. And I want to be on the right side of things, but this is like a dream in that sense. And Jesus referred to death and sleep as interchangeable. So if anybody out there has ever had somebody they love that's died, just remember, they're really not dead. This is just a different manifestation of sleep, let's say. They've shed their husk, much like a seed has to shed its outer husk, and then the true essence comes forth. So this thing is about eternity, and we're here to stay. So we might as well try to make the best out of things, and that's what I do. I mean, if I can convey some truth that somebody else out there picks up on, and they convey it to somebody else, that's all it takes. It takes actually one person that picks up on something that made sense that they never heard in any of their other circles, because all their friends and peers and associates and their colleagues, their parents, their family, friends, everybody has been brainwashed into trusting in the system. And I'm here to tell you, you can't trust in it at all. The system can't save your life any more than I can save your life. That's between you and God. It's a very personal, very intimate process that we know that we're dependent on somebody. Who is that somebody when we can't save our own lives? That somebody is trusting in a loving, all-powerful, higher power. That's the creator of the universe and all that is contained therein. That's the sovereign. The only one that we owe any homage to is this one. This is where we learn and grow from. This is when we ask for wisdom and understanding, and he throws it in our lap. It comes to us. And all good things that we can ever have come from above. And he even gives us the sustenance. He gave us the wherewithal to build a proper shelter. He gave us the wherewithal to have every stitch of technology we have, because he gave us this brain that's far more sophisticated, advanced than any computer that we have ever ever made. And every computer we've ever made came because we've got a brain that God gave us. Every stitch of technology is from God. All the fruit trees, all the vegetables, all the grain. He gave us the intelligence to make a fishing rod, to go out and catch fish, to make a fishing boat and a net, to catch a bunch of fish so we could give to others. All these things come from God. So this is the only one we should ever pay deference to. We don't owe it to the IRS. We don't owe it to Obama or Bush or Clinton or any other person on the face of this earth. We don't even owe it to our own parents. We can be grateful to our parents and we can pay honor to them for the good things they did, that they got from God and they conveyed to us and others. But what did they do different from every other creature on earth? They came instinctively. They mated and they had children. So in that sense, a parent really didn't do anything. The hard part comes, of course, in raising the child and cleaning up after it and taking it to school and picking it up after school and teaching it right from wrong, breaking up their fights if you've got more than one child. And every parent understands. So every parent does deserve respect and honor for doing those things for us. The right thing. You know, they stepped up to the plate and they said, you know what? I love this child and I want to care for it. I love it more than myself. And I would do anything for my child. And that is a godly mind. It's the right mind. It's an instinctive mind that you've turned to. Because we can go one way or the other. We always have the choice of being decent, upright human beings or being stinkers and doing what we want, being self-serving and hedonistic and just lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. And we care more about, pleasing the people of this world than pleasing God and the people out there that are not of this world, like I consider myself. I'm in the world like we're all in the world, but I don't want to be a part of the system. I want to tread as lightly as I can with this monetary-based reality. If anybody out there makes a lot of money, you got to pay more taxes. So you end up supporting the very system. If you speak out against it, you got to admit that's a form of hypocrisy. How can you in one breath say, condemn the system because it's all just criminality? It's all corrupt from, one side and down the other. It all stems from this money printing. This is a false god of this world. It's Satan. And this is how we've been deceived. It's very enticing. But, how can you say that the system's so bad and corrupt, and then you go pay your taxes to support the system? When the only reason that we're even being taxed is to keep us down, to keep us intimidated, in fear. It's tyranny. Because the taxes should be paid to the people. If you really think about it, since the earth belongs to God, we're God's children, then rightly, that wealth belongs to all of us, okay? It can't be already bought and sold and just handed down through the heirs of the Rockefellers and Rothschild clan and their types. And you've got all kinds of mini Rockefeller and Rothschilds out there, the uber wealthy. And is it right that they should just steal all the wealth of the planet in perpetuity, forever, and then say, you're beholden to me. That cost of living you got to pay, my children don't have to pay that, but you, because you were born into poverty as a peasant, a commoner, you got to pay the cost of living. It's an ungodly situation. It's a money-based reality, and it isn't reality at all. It's a giant charade through and through. The entire establishment is run by a gaggle of ruthless, murderous, lying, stealing, thieving thugs. That is the spirit of Satan, okay? They are willing to do anything to keep their position in place. No act of violence is off the table, okay? They not only would if they could commit genocide, they would. They would actually like that, a lot of these people. They're depopulationists. Believe the earth is overpopulated, but they don't offer to kill themselves in order to save Gaia, Mother Earth. But they're offer to kill you and your family and the case for killing Granny and all that. So that's how I feel, and I know this much, is that I will never shrink away from that view, because I believe God gave me that understanding and that view. That really this planet is abundant, and it's God that was responsible for all the wealth that's been generated. And who generated the wealth? Who, if you took an inventory of planet Earth,